The Lateral Lawyer, Opportunities and Pitfalls for the Law Firm Partner Switching Firms, is the first book of its kind, a step-by-step guide to moving from one firm to another as a partner. That is, while there are other guides out there for law firm associates, no one has ever written a guide for a partner who's considering switching firms. My background as the founder and principal of Lateral Lawyer Recruiting is as a partner-level lateral recruiter. I've been doing this for over 10 years, in addition to my 20 years as a practicing and non-practicing lawyer, admitted in 3 states, New York, New Jersey, and Texas, and having worked with candidates worldwide. I wrote The Lateral Lawyer with a view toward educating the population that moves from one firm to another. It occurred to me sometime during my 10 years doing lateral recruiting at the partner level that most of the candidates I worked with really didn't have a good idea going into the process what the process consisted of. So I wrote the book so that it would not be a mystery to them as they went through the process of moving from one firm to another, how it works. The hardest thing in writing the book was coming up with the examples, because I wanted to give examples that were at once illustrative and also humorous, as well as being anonymous, because I didn't want to reveal that the examples I used are taken from specific situations with specific candidates. Everybody who's touched by the lateral lawyer process benefits. This includes the partners at the prospective firms who serve on their hiring committees. It includes the professional staff of the law firms, such as the directors and managers of lateral recruiting. And it also includes the associates, who will eventually be partners themselves and who will face the sorts of choices that their bosses currently do today. The lateral hiring process consists of 3 primary steps. The first is coming to the conclusion that you should actually take a look at some of the opportunities that are out there. So step number 1 is making the decision to interview with other firms. Step number 2 is the due diligence process. And there are a number of pieces to the due diligence process. Part of it is filling out the so-called LPQs, or lateral partner questionnaires, that are distributed by the prospective law firms. Part of it is the interview process, where you actually meet partners at the prospective firm and see if you'd like to work with them eventually as your own partners. And then the final step is negotiating an offer. And here's where things get interesting, because a lawyer who only approaches one firm doesn't really create a market for his or her services. But by approaching multiple firms simultaneously, you create a market for your services and can really get a good sense of what your worth is economically to those firms. A successful lateral candidate typically has 3 characteristics. First of all, they have a strategic reason why being at a different firm would be better for their practice, specifically for their clients and for their own personal development. Second, they have a persuasive reason that they can explain why their current platform is not optimal for them. Even though it could be good, it's not necessarily optimal, and they're able articulately to describe that. Finally, they have realistic expectations about compensation and support from the new firm. So they'll be going into a conversation with someone very much as a potential merger partner. A candidate who moves from one firm to another wants to be seen as much as possible as an equal by the law firm with which he or she is speaking. The key takeaway from The Lateral Lawyer is that whether you have an enormous book of business or a fairly modest one, and by fairly modest I mean around $1 million a year in revenue to your firm, you have options. So whether you're at the pinnacle of your career or whether you're just on the way up, there are a lot of options with other firms that you may never even have considered, indeed, that you might not even be aware of. A thoughtful conversation with an informed recruiter can help you understand the legal landscape and where your practice might be able to fit in it, potentially in a place that's different and better than where it is today.